All right, guys, we got to talk about the Epstein files. I'll give you some new updates here, but my goodness. Good Lord. Oh, my days. What on earth? This is crazy. So this is in Axios, what Congressman Jamie Raskin saw in the unredacted Epstein files. You ready for this? Representative Jamie Raskin told Axios in an interview Tuesday that when he searched President Trump's name in the unredacted Epstein files the previous day, it came up more than 1 million times. More than 1 million times. Bro, we thought it was record-breaking and colossal and gargantuan and absurd that he was in there 38,000 times in the redacted version and the limited release version of the Epstein files. In the unredacted version, in the full version, 1 million times. I don't even know how to respond to that. They say at least one of the files Raskin found appears to contradict what Trump has publicly claimed about his association with Jeffrey Epstein, according to the House Judiciary Committee ranking member. That document is a 2009 email exchange between Epstein and his associate Ghislaine Maxwell, in which Epstein recounted his lawyer's account of a phone call with Trump, as Raskin previously told reporters, quote, Trump is paraphrased and quoted as saying, no, Jeffrey Epstein was not a member of Mar-a-Lago, but he was a guest at Mar-a-Lago, and no, we never asked him to leave. Raskin said in an interview at the Capitol. Okay, you literally can't trust a single thing this man has ever said, Donald Trump. You just can't. He just makes shit up relentlessly. Trump has denied all wrongdoings in the Epstein matter, and he's maintained that he kicked Epstein out of Mar-a-Lago for poaching spa workers. The former Palm Beach chief of police testified to the FBI in 2019 that following Epstein's arrest in the early 2000s, Trump claimed he threw Epstein out of Mar-a-Lago. Trump reportedly also told the police chief then that everyone has known he's been doing this, and that Maxwell is evil, and to focus on her. Remember when they got into a property dispute? Epstein told Trump, I'm going to get this property. Trump swooped in and bought it out from underneath him. Then Trump took that property, which he bought for about $40 million, sold it for about $90 million at the peak of the Great Recession to a Russian fertilizer oligarch. And Epstein in the emails and the Epstein files basically said, yeah, he was money laundering. He was money laundering for like the Russian mob. So that there was a temporary breakup in their relationship over that fact, right? But Trump pretends like it had nothing to do with that. And it was, oh yeah, he was a creep. No, Trump was sending the girls from the spa at Mar-a-Lago to Epstein and knew he was doing it and wanted to do that. Okay, so just insane stuff. Let me give you some more here. You had Howard Lutnick, who was supposed to testify, I believe it was on tariffs in front of Congress. But boy, oh boy, did he get a little something else. Because this is the guy, for those of you who don't know, who... He did an interview, and he was asked about his relationship with Epstein because he lived right across the street or right next to Epstein. And he goes, you know, I met him one day, and I saw that he had a massage table in the middle of his house. And I said, why do you have a massage table? And he goes, because I get a massage every day. And then he got close to me and said, and the right kind of massage. And I said, sir, I'm going to see my way out. I am shocked and appalled. And then he said, when me and my wife were taking our 7 steps back to our house, I looked at her and said, I will never be with that man again. Never. He's disgusting. He's gross. Well, come to find out, in the Epstein files, we learned, not only did he see him again, bro, he went to the fucking island with his wife and his, like, multiple children. Okay? So you want to talk about a liar. The fact that he was comfortable enough to say, all right, coming to the island, see you, like, that means you'd seen this motherfucker, what, 100 other times in between? Oh, what a lying scumbag. They all knew. They all knew, and they were fine with it because they're also into some freaky, deaky ass criminal shit. Okay? But here he is getting grilled on this.
I think you understand the root of concern here. It's the way you described very emphatically your first encounter with him in his apartment, said you were disgusted, would never have any contact with him again. Did you, in fact, make the visit to Jeffrey Epstein's private island?
I did have lunch with him as I was on a boat going across on a family vacation. My wife was with me, as were my 4 children and nannies.
I like how he thinks that makes it better, right? Like, my kids were with me on pedophile rape island, so it's okay. Also, I think there was an email where Epstein was asking about one of Lutnick's nannies. And then, did Lutnick bring these nannies to the island? And what the hell did Epstein want with the nanny? Like, come on, man. Like, you really going to try to weasel your way out of it? Fucking resign. Everybody wants you to resign. Thomas Massie called for you to resign. Democrats are calling for you to resign. This is ridiculous.
Had another couple they were there as well with their children, and we had lunch on the island. That is true, for an hour, and we left with all of my children, with my nannies and my wife, all together. We were on family vacation. We were not apart. To suggest there was anything untoward about that in 2012, I don't recall why we did it, but...
He says in 2012, he was convicted in 2008 of soliciting a minor for prostitution. He's like, what's wrong with that? What's wrong with meeting for a pedophile on his pedophile rape island 3 years after he was convicted of stuff? What's the problem with that, bro? All right, we're still not done, though. We got more here. So here's Van Hollen continuing to go in.
Did you have a dinner in Epstein's New York City home in 2011?
No.
So the information that suggests that there was a dinner with Woody Allen and Woody Allen's spouse at the Epstein residence, there's nothing to that. Is that right?
I actually don't know what you're referring to. There was...
Such a bad liar. Oh, my God. Actually, no, I didn't. No. Well, I don't even know what you're talking about, man.
I looked through the millions of documents for my name, just like everybody else.
I looked through the Epstein files for my name, like everybody else. Everybody in your circle, in your depraved, billionaire, parasite, sadist circle, yeah, you guys were looking through the Epstein files. Regular people were looking, hey, I wonder if I'm in the Epstein. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? Why would an accountant or a preschool teacher or Dave from down the street, why would he, oh man, I better make sure I'm not in the Epstein files. Maybe I slipped and fell on Rape Island. Like, what is wrong with you?
What I found was there was a document that says that I had a meeting with him in May, I think, for an hour at 5 o'clock.
Okay.
Not dinner or otherwise, for an hour at 5 o'clock.
All right, we got one more here.
When you visited the private island, did you see anything inappropriate during that visit?
The only thing I saw with my wife and my children and the other couple and their children was staff who worked for Mr. Epstein on that island.
Did you see the trap door in the basement that led directly to the ocean? Did you see the massive amounts of sulfuric acid that he bought the day that he was they opened the investigation into him? Did you see any of that? Did you see any of the art images of naked children? Did you see any of that?
And you realize that this visit took place after he'd been convicted, right? I mean, you made a very big point of saying that you sensed that this was a bad person in 2005. And then, of course, in 2008, he was convicted of soliciting prostitution of a minor. And yet you went and had this trip and other interactions. Did you have a dinner in Epstein's New York City home in 2011?
No.
So the information that suggests that there was a dinner with Woody Allen and Woody Allen's spouse at the Epstein residence, there's nothing to that. Is that right?
I actually don't know what you're referring to. There was...
You know what's crazy? And Ro Khanna made this point too. What's crazy is you are seeing some semblance of consequences at the very least. Not justice yet, but consequences for people in the Epstein files in other countries, right? There's some, I think it was Slovenian politician who lost his position. Peter Mandelson in the UK lost his position. Of course, Andrew lost his title of prince a while ago. But like, people are getting fired. People are losing jobs. People are stepping down from government positions if they're in the Epstein files and they're in other countries. I think, was there somebody in Australia? I think it may have been somebody in Australia too who had to step down. But here in the US, like, and this just shows the moral rot and degeneracy and the imperial decline at the heart of this country, is these elites genuinely feel like, okay, sure, I was outed as part of the shadow government of sadistic pedophile billionaires that runs the world, but like, I'm just going to keep going, right? Like, why would I have any shame? Why would I step down? Why would I lose any power? Like, all of us are sadistic pedophile rapist billionaires. So, like, of course I'm going to keep going. It really goes to show you what this country has become. It really is like just a sickening, rotten, race to the bottom version of the United States of America. And I said this to Crystal the other day in the car. I said, you know, what occurred to me is we really are more of an anti-meritocracy than a meritocracy. And what I mean by that is the absolute dumbest and worst among us are the ones who have risen to the top. You know the old saying, like, oh, the cream always rises to the top? Wrong. In the United States of America, the cream always sinks to the motherfucking bottom, and whatever the worst shit is rises to the top, okay? That's what it is. Because how else do you explain Elon Musk, the world's fucking dumbest man, being worth $850 billion? How do you explain that? How do you explain Howard Lutnick, who's literally just a money laundering criminal? That's literally it, right? Total fucking sleazebag type guy. He's one of the most powerful men in the country, right? Donald Trump, Mr. Born with a silver spoon in my mouth, Mr. I'm an absolute dipshit, but I'm going to pretend like I'm some business genius. It's all PR, it's all marketing. He's president. So the worst of us get the highest position and the most authority. It's not a meritocracy, it's an anti-meritocracy. If you want to make it, you have to be the most shameless. You have to be the worst version of yourself. And that's disgusting. That's a system that's not fucking sustainable. That's a system that's collapsing right in front of our eyes because it can't continue like this, right? All right, we're not done though. So now we have Ro Khanna. He went on the House floor, and man, did he do something brave. He went to go view the unredacted Epstein files, and, you know, he basically took some notes and said, well, hold on now. This is in contravention of the law, that you're hiding the names of these co-conspirators. And so he wrote them down, goes to the floor of Congress, and he goes, here's the name of the co-conspirators. Watch this.
Congressman Massey and I went to the Department of Justice to read the unredacted Epstein files. We spent about 2 hours there, and we learned that 70 to 80% of the files are still redacted. In fact, there were 6 wealthy, powerful men that the DOJ hid for no apparent reason. When Congressman Massey and I pointed this out to the Department of Justice, they acknowledged their mistake, and now they have revealed the identity of these 6 powerful men. These men are Salvatore Navora, Zorab Mikaladze, Leopig Leonor, Nicola Caputa, Sultan Ahmed bin Sulayem, CEO of Dubai Ports World, and billionaire businessman Leslie Wexner.
So this is brave. He's literally calling out people at the heart of the billionaire pedophile cabal of sadists that actually runs the world. You know, what's interesting is when Massey and Ro Khanna came out of that meeting and they said, hey, there's 6 people here that, are not supposed to be redacted, and they're redacted. What happened was it forced the hand of the DOJ and the FBI to be like, oh, not totally, bro, totally. Like, we're unredacting a bunch of them. So I think they unredacted Les Wexner at that moment and said, like, well, we got nothing to hide. See, we unredacted the Les Wexner thing. Yeah, but why did it take Ro Khanna and Thomas Massey having to view the unredacted Epstein files to force you in order to do that when you should have done that from the beginning? You're still protecting. Guys, there were allegedly 29 different specific deals made with Epstein co-conspirators and the government where the government is letting them off the hook. Think about that. That's fucking crazy. That's crazy, bro. So tell me who they are. Tell me who the 10 are who were closest to Epstein, who were in on the child sex trafficking. Tell me that. But massive shout out to Ro Khanna here, who's doing the job that he should do and basically saying, I'm going to uphold the law when you motherfuckers are violating the law. And I it's great. I mean, he's basically daring them like, oh, come after me for upholding the law, whereas you guys are breaking the law. I dare you to come after me. They can't stop you. You can go out there and say everything that's in the Epstein files. They can't do shit to you because it's your law. You wrote it. You know this information's already supposed to be unredacted. Okay, more. Thomas Massey reveals that Les Wexner has now been officially named as a co-conspirator of Jeffrey Epstein in a child trafficking case. Massey says Department of Justice Attorney Todd Blanche was pressured into unredacting Wexner's name, this is what we just talked about, after public pressure and after they came out and said, hey, we know the names now. Massey now says Blanche is actively covering up the identities of 4 other major pedophiles tied to Epstein's trafficking network. All right, how about this? So the other day, they have Maxwell come and talk, and they want Maxwell to spill more tea. And what she does is she says, nuh-uh, I'm only going to say more if I get clemency. I'm only going to say more if I get clemency. And of course, it would be, what? I'm going to clear Trump's name even further, and I'm going to drag down the Democrats because she's not an idiot and she knows what Trump wants, and she's going to give him what he wants in order to get that clemency. But this is so crazy. 16 years apart, Epstein and Maxwell both invoking the Fifth Amendment when asked directly about Donald Trump. Watch this.
Have you ever socialized with Donald Trump in the presence of females under the age of 18?
Oh.
Though I'd like to answer that question, at least today, I'm going to have to assert my 5th, 6th, and 14th Amendment rights, sir.
Are you aware of Donald Trump ever engaging in sexual activity with an individual introduced to him by you or Jeffrey Epstein?
I invoke my 5th Amendment right to silence.
Guilty is not a strong enough word. We need a stronger word than that. How about this, y'all? Newly released Epstein documents reveal FBI agent purposely removed hard drive from jail video recording system, intentionally erasing all prison footage during the time of Epstein's death. This keeps getting crazier and crazier. Because the only logical conclusion from this is they're hiding that they killed him, or they're hiding that he's alive, which there's more and more people who are starting to believe that. I'm still on team they killed him, by the way, just for the record here. But there's the link to justice.gov, and here, I'll click this so you guys can pause it if you'd like to read it in full. This is just insane. The other day we talked about how the roommate of Jeffrey Epstein, the cellmate of Jeffrey Epstein, came out and said, oh, Trump wanted him dead. Trump definitely wanted him dead. The layers to this thing, every time you think you get to the bottom of it, no, it goes deeper. All right, breaking. Trump's Justice Department has just moved to dismiss Steve Bannon's 2 criminal convictions, okay? This is the one for rejecting the congressional subpoena to testify on this. That's what this is about, okay? Trump already saved Sloppy Steve's ass when Sloppy Steve had this massive fraudulent scheme that he was found guilty of where they privately funded the border wall, which, for those of you who don't know, was just a massive fraud where they stole money from MAGA supporters. That's what it actually was. Trump's Justice Department has just moved to dismiss Steve Bannon's 2 criminal convictions. Remember, this is the same Steve Bannon who was incredibly close to Jeffrey Epstein. It's almost as if Trump is afraid of what Bannon may say about him and Epstein if he doesn't do this. The corruption and cover-up are insane. Yeah, so as more and more information comes out about how Steve Bannon was literally like best friends with Jeffrey Epstein, they were super close, especially at the end of Epstein's life. There was nobody closer to him than Steve Bannon. Steve Bannon was like trying to do PR for him and trying to like clear his name and shit like that. If you're Trump and you see that, you would think like, oh shit, well now we got to distance ourselves even more from sloppy Steve Bannon. But no, Trump's going in the other direction, and now he's saying positive things about Steve Bannon, and they're trying to dismiss his 2 criminal convictions. Why do you think he's doing that? Trump is doing that, again, because it's like Trump knows, sloppy Steve knows all the dirt on Trump. And so Trump is trying to, let me do a favor for Steve so Steve doesn't ever spill the beans on me. That's what this is. This is the same logic and same rationale which led to Trump in his first term offering Jeffrey Epstein a position in his administration. It's the same mindset. Trump knew, hey, this guy's got a lot of dirt on me. How do I keep him quiet? I'll pretend like we're buddies, and I'll offer him a spot in my administration. Okay? We learned that also from the Epstein files too, by the way, or the emails. Just incredible, incredible stuff. New Jeffrey Epstein video shows him presenting a girl to a camera and exposing her breasts. She kept pushing his hands away. All right, this one's hard to watch. So for those of you who are just listening to this on one of the podcasting apps, it's just somebody who seems underage and redacted head, but you're about to see here, they appear to be in like some sort of office. I don't know if this is Jeffrey Epstein's place in New York City or whatever, but Epstein is like recording her as if to take this footage and then send it to a client, right? Send it to a client, say, is this one good? And now here's Jeffrey Epstein literally lifting up the shirt, trying to expose the breasts to the camera. There. And now he's, again, it's almost like, it would be like if he's like a car salesman recording a video showing the car to a prospective customer. He's doing that, except it's with seemingly an underage girl here. So this is just incredibly, incredibly disturbing. Speaking of disturbing, breaking, this image was just found in the Epstein files. Who is this man? Why isn't he arrested yet? And then it looks like it's what appears to be a relatively young girl here getting a spray tan, maybe. Looks like that might be what it is, but she's naked, and there's a picture of it. Okay. Representative Raskin says, Epstein documents reviewed at DOJ show evidence of victims as young as 9. And when I read this, the immediate thing I think of is Nick Fuentes and Megyn Kelly doing the whole like, well, technically it's actually not pedophilia. Technically it's not pedophilia. And Megyn Kelly saying, oh, he was into the barely legal types, like 15, which is not barely legal. That is illegal. I think there was one point where Fuentes said, well, it wasn't 9-year-olds, or he said, like, it wasn't 5-year-olds. I don't remember if he said 9 or 5 or maybe both. But, like, here you go. And it should come as a shock to nobody. The depths of the depravity are way worse than any of us thought initially, right? Like, this is as bad as it gets. This is as gross as it gets. How about this one? Thomas Massey says that the redacted sender of the torture video email was Sultan Ahmed bin Sulayem. This is the guy who was, like, very open with Jeffrey Epstein and treated him like his bestie. By the way, this guy's responsible for 10% of the shipping containers around the world with the company that he runs. So, and I should also point out, we initially thought this email here was Netanyahu, because the timeline lined up with Netanyahu, where, like, he was in China and then he was going to the U.S. and people checked, and it looked like at that time Netanyahu was in China and then later on he was in the U.S. So everybody, including me, I thought it was Netanyahu and I covered it like that. It turns out, no, it was this Sultan who Epstein was really close with. And it's, where are you? Are you okay? I loved the torture video. Remember, guys, they're telling us with a straight face, the Trump regime, we don't need to investigate anything. We don't need to indict anybody. We don't need to arrest him. So let me get this straight. These motherfuckers are indicting, like, James Comey, and they're indicting Letitia James, and, you know, they're going after Mark Kelly and Alyssa Slotkin because they dared to do a video where they said, hey, if you're given an illegal order and you're in the military, don't follow it. If it's illegal, you don't have to follow it. The Constitution is the overriding law of the land, the supreme law of the land. If they're telling you to do something that's unconstitutional, you don't have to do it. They tried to fucking go after them for that. So they're treating people like criminals for their free speech. God forbid you protest Israel and you're against genocide. They treat you like a motherfucking criminal. But if you're caught dead to rights in an email saying, I love the torture video, or you're caught casually discussing murder, like, they don't care. They don't care. If you're caught casually discussing rape or pedophilia, they don't care. They go, no, they said, it's not a crime to party with Epstein. What are we going to do with these people? All right. We also have this one. Man, this one right here. Breaking. Why was Epstein making quarterly payments of thousands of dollars to Ohio State's head of gynecology? This needs to be investigated like yesterday, and it's Julie Brown who said this. Remember, Julie Brown is the Miami Herald journalist who blew the lid off the whole Epstein case. So she's a legend when it comes to this thing. And she's quote tweeting here, NBC4 Columbus, convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein paid Ohio State University's head of gynecology quarterly payments of thousands of dollars. This reminds me of the email Epstein got from somebody where they said, hey, which gynecologist do you send your victims to? That was literally like they wrote that out in the email. What gynecologist do you send your victims to? Here you go. Here you go. Why are you paying this guy on a regular basis? On a regular basis, payments of thousands of dollars. That guy should be fired yesterday, right? Like that, forget it. There ain't no fucking way. There's no reasonable explanation to take payment from Jeffrey Epstein on a recurring basis if you're a gynecologist. I think we all kind of know what's at the core of this here. So just wild updates. And by the way, as I'm talking to you right now, Pam Bondi is getting grilled to the high heavens in a committee hearing over the Epstein files, and I'll definitely have some stuff on that for you tomorrow because they are erupting in there, and Pam Bondi is coming unglued, and she's getting absolutely hammered into the ground for protecting the pedophile billionaire cabal of sadists.
Hey y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop, and watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.